Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian from Zombie Guitar here. Here in this lesson, I want to talk about a new approach that you may not have heard of before, and this is basically you use pentatonics, the basic pentatonic position number 1, and you play that pentatonic scale over top of each chord within the diatonic chord progression. Okay, so by doing this, you're still 100% in key. You're not playing any out of key notes. You're just using a very familiar pentatonic pattern, but you're moving it around and playing on different areas of the fretboards as the chord changes occur. And I'm going to explain why that's 100% in key as we go through this video. So basically this is going to be divided into 4 parts, and then I'm going to add a 5th part in the end for further learning. So the first part is going to be just simply playing the pentatonic box over each chord. Alright, very simple, not very melodic, sounds very jumpy, but that's the first step. The second part is going to be adding the upper extensions or lower extensions to each pentatonic position, okay, to start to make these patterns connect a little bit better. The third part is going to be the chord tone targeting within the pentatonic boxes, okay, and then the 4th part is going to be adding in the additional diatonic notes, okay, to make the full diatonic scale using just 3 box patterns. Okay, 3 is all you have to do is remember 3 patterns. Alright, so with that said, let's get into the 4 parts. Okay, so in order to do this soloing with pentatonics method, all you need to know is one pentatonic scale shape. Okay, your basic pentatonic position number 1, which looks like this. This could either be a major pentatonic scale or it could be a minor pentatonic scale. Alright, if you want to make it a minor pentatonic scale, your roots are going to be located here on the E string and the D string, as you see. Okay, if you want to make it a major pentatonic scale, your roots are going to be located here on the low E string with your pinky and on the G string. Okay, so for example, the demo I did in the beginning was in the key of F sharp minor. So if you want to make this an F sharp minor pentatonic scale, we can do it up here on the 14th to 17th fret. First finger would go on the root, which is your note F sharp. This is your F sharp minor pentatonic scale. Okay, your root notes are located here, here, and here. Those are all F sharps. If you want to make this an A major pentatonic scale, you would take your pinky and you would locate the root note. Okay, your pinky goes on the root note A. You can find an A up here on the 17th fret, which conveniently is the same exact box pattern. But if you focus on the A instead of the F sharp, it becomes an A major pentatonic scale. Okay, so your major roots are located underneath your pinky on the low E string and the high E string, and then underneath your first finger on the G string. So anytime you have a minor chord within the diatonic progression, you would simply just find this pentatonic box by using your first finger to locate it. Alright? If you have a major chord in the diatonic chord progression, you would take your pinky and put that on the root on the low E string to locate the pentatonic box. Okay, so this chord progression that I was using was F sharp minor, moving to A major, moving to E major, moving to D major. This puts you in the key of F sharp minor. Okay. Then the next chord was an E major. Major, pinky, locate your E. E is right here, 12th fret. That's how I found that pentatonic box. Okay. Then the last chord was a D major, so pinky on the D, right here. Okay, so it's a lot of jumping around at this point, but this is just the first step of it. You want to locate where these pentatonic shells are, okay, and then you can expand from there. Okay, so you have okay, so that's just applying the pentatonic boxes just in the little 4th fret area over each chord, okay? So you can hear how it starts to become connected with the chord progression that is F sharp minor to the A major, to the E major, to the D major, okay? Now let's go on to step 2. Okay, so far we just looked at pentatonic position number 1 for each chord, okay? The big thing that you need to recognize here, if you haven't already realized this by now, is that we're playing a completely different pentatonic scale for each chord. The traditional approach that you're probably used to is the first step is knowing what key you're in. So we're in the key of F sharp minor here. So you would take your F sharp minor pentatonic scale, and then you could play all 5 of the positions of the F sharp minor pentatonic scale, but you would do that over all 4 chords. That's the traditional way that most people, beginners and intermediates to soloing, are accustomed to. This is what we're doing, a completely different pentatonic scale for each chord. So over the F sharp minor chord, you would play the F sharp minor pentatonic scale and all 5 of its positions, but just over that one chord. Once you get to the A major chord, you would play the A major pentatonic scale and all 5 of its positions. Now the A major and the F sharp minor are a relative major-minor pair, so they're the same 5 patterns, okay? But then when you get to the E major pentatonic scale, that's a completely different set of patterns. That's the E major pentatonic scale. So you can just play position 1, or you can go ahead and you can play any of the 5 positions of the E major pentatonic scale over the E major chord. Same thing with the D major chord, alright? So you're not just playing one pentatonic scale over the whole progression, you're playing a different pentatonic scale over each chord. So for the purposes of this lesson, just to keep it kind of simple, and because you can get deeper and deeper into any theory topic, but just to keep it kind of simple, we're just going to expand these pentatonic patterns a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to add in the upper extension. So I have another lesson on the upper extension. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Expand the Pentatonic Scale, and that's where you just add in a couple extra frets up here on the G, B, and E string. Okay, so when you're on the F sharp minor pentatonic scale, you would go ahead and you would add this. Okay, same thing for the A major pentatonic scale, because those are the same pattern. It's a relative major-minor pair. Only difference is where the tonal center is within the pattern. Okay, so this little upper extension is being added. Okay, then when the E major chord occurs, you have your position number 1. But you can go ahead and you can add in the same extension because this is pentatonic position number 1, and then you're adding in some of the notes from pentatonic position number 2 of the E major pentatonic scale. Alright, same thing for the D major pentatonic scale. Okay, so again, I'm just adding in the upper extensions. If I wanted to, I can add as much as I want to each one. I could have the F sharp minor and all of its 5 pentatonic positions, then the A major pentatonic and all 5 of its pentatonic positions, E major pentatonic and all 5 of its pentatonic positions, D major pentatonic and all 5 of the positions for D major. Okay, but I'm just adding in the upper extension. Alright, so that's the second step of this approach. Okay, so now the third step of this approach is recognizing where the chord tones are located within these pentatonic shapes. So the good thing about this is it's the same if you're just using pentatonic box number 1 for each chord. The chord shapes are going to be the same for all the pentatonic boxes. For every major chord, you're going to find your chord tones in the G shape, okay? And I'll explain what that is in a second if you don't already know. For the minor chords, you're going to find your chord tones in, you could call it the E minor shape, okay? So let's look at the minor one first. So for the F sharp minor chord, we're here 14th to 17th fret area. Your chord tones are found here. Here's your root, here's your 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th, root. Then you have a 3rd up here too. Okay, and for this particular, for minor chords, you can always add in the 7th as well, because that's part of this pentatonic shape as well. So you have your 7th for minor chords, which is found one whole step under the root. So you have your 7ths, which you can consider a chord tone too. So you have root, 3rd, 5th, minor 7, root, 3rd, 5th, minor 7, root, 3rd. So almost all of the pentatonic shape for the minor chords are chord tones if you're taking your root, 3rd, 5th, and minor 7th and consider them chord tones, okay? So those are going to be the best sounding notes within these pentatonic shapes, all right? The chord tones are always going to be the best sounding notes over any chords within a chord progression, all right? So then when you move to the major chords, all of your chord tones are found in the G shape, okay? So the G shape looks like this. So here's your A major pentatonic shell, and here's your G shape. Okay, so that's an A major chord, all of the chord tones of the A major chord. Here's your A, that's your root, 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th, root. Okay, and then when you move down to the E major pentatonic box, it's the same thing. The chord tones are located in the exact same spots. Okay, then down here, D major chord, same thing. The D major found in the G shape. Alright, so this approach makes chord tone soloing a lot easier than the cage system, okay? So if the cage system is a little bit too much for you to, to wrap your head around, taking this approach makes things very easy because the chord tones are located in the same spots for any kind of minor chord and the same spots for any kind of major chord. Alright, so knowing the location of your chord tones within these shapes makes your job of chord tone targeting a lot easier. Alright, so that's the 3rd step. Okay, so now the 4th step is just simply adding in these the remaining diatonic notes, okay? So these are your melodic notes. These are the flavor notes, okay? This keeps you, the pentatonic boxes alone are 100% diatonic, and then going and adding in these flavor notes, this is also 100% diatonic. So this fretboard diagram that you see here on the screen is the F sharp minor scale, okay? So for the first chord, which was an F sharp minor chord, here's this pentatonic box here between the 14th and the 17th fret, alright? Alright, and then if you want to go ahead and add in your diatonic notes, you would use this box pattern here. So anytime you have the F sharp minor in this particular key is the 6th chord, alright? So anytime you have a 6th chord in any key, this would be the pattern that you apply. Okay, and then for the A major chord is also the same pentatonic box because this is a relative major-minor pair. The A major chord is found right here using the same pattern. Okay, so that's that box pattern. That's one of the 3 box patterns that you would want to memorize. So for the minor 6 chord or the major 1 chord, that would be the box pattern that you would apply. Okay, then when it moves down to the E chord, the E major chord is the 5 chord in this particular key. Okay, so anytime you have a 5 chord, this is the box pattern that you would use. Okay, so here's your pentatonic shell, and then adding in your additional notes. Okay, so that's the box pattern. We didn't use a C sharp minor in this particular soloing example. Okay, I just used 4 chords, but if you did have the C sharp minor, which is part of the key of F sharp minor, you would use the same box pattern as well, only your roots would be located underneath your first finger, then your third finger on the D string, and then your first finger on the high E. Okay, so if it was a C sharp minor chord thrown in there, this is the box pattern you would use. Okay, same thing. C sharp minor and E major are also a relative major minor pair. So that's the second box pattern. The third box pattern is applied when you come down here to the D major chord. Okay, so here's your pentatonic shell for the D major chord. Here's your note D on the 10th fret of the low E string. Go ahead and add in those extra notes. Okay, so that's the third box pattern. The D major in this particular, in this key, in the key of F sharp minor / A major, the D would be considered the 4 chord, okay, the major 4 chord, okay? The last chord within this key, the last diatonic chord, excluding the diminished chord, which we're not talking about in this lesson, would be the B minor, okay? So the B minor also shares the same pattern, okay? So if you had a B minor in this progression, you would have this. Okay, so that's your third box pattern. So you really only have 3 box patterns that you need to memorize, okay? You have this one, or in the major version. Then you have this box pattern. Or the minor version of that box pattern. Okay, and then you have this box pattern. Or the minor version. Okay, so 3 box patterns, and if you memorize all 3 of those, then you have all that you need, because then once you're down here again, you're back down into the F sharp minor A major chord area. All right, so this essentially covers the whole fretboard, but it's just a different approach, and it's using pentatonic, the pentatonic shape that you're familiar with, to allow you to know the location of these box patterns, and to basically have like a shell for chord tone targeting purposes. Okay, so that is essentially, in a nutshell, the 1 pentatonic per chord approach. All right, so there's several different approaches that you can use to soloing over a chord progression. You have the cage system, you have the 5 pentatonic positions, you have the 7 diatonic patterns. You have all these different approaches that you can use to soloing, arpeggios, approaches, all kinds of stuff. But this is just another approach, all right? So it's a way of soloing within a key. In this example, we did F sharp minor, but you're just using a familiar pentatonic box to allow you to walk around to different areas of the fretboard to solo in, such that your soloing starts to sound more connected with the chords, okay, as opposed to just playing one scale over the entire chord progression and just hoping that you're hitting chord tones. All right, so further learning that you might be able to do with this would be, rather than jumping around from pentatonic box to pentatonic box to pentatonic box, every time a chord change occurs, you could always apply the appropriate pentatonic box within just one position, okay? So you don't always have to stick to pentatonic position number 1. We did so for the purpose of this lesson, but as I said, each pentatonic has its own 5 positions to it. Okay, so F major, or F sharp minor, and A major, they have the same pentatonic box, so those 2 are already covered. So you're here. Okay, and then when you get to the E, so say instead of doing pentatonic position number 1, maybe you want to do number 2, or even number 3. Okay, so number 3 of E major, so here's E major. Here's 2 of E major. Here's 3. Okay, so So when you get to the E major, maybe you might want to do pentatonic position number 3 to keep yourself in that spot, okay? And then when you get to the D major chord, maybe you might want to do pentatonic position number 4, which is this. So that keeps you all in the same spot. So you're using pentatonic position number 1 over the F sharp minor chord, pentatonic position number 1 over the A major chord, pentatonic position number 3 over the E major chord, and pentatonic position number 4 over the D major chord, okay? So you could do something like so that was just a quick little improvisation, and stuff like that. It comes, you need to know your 5 pentatonic positions like the back of your hand in order to be able to switch up like that. And I'm not even a pro at it either. I'm just, I'm okay at this stuff. But that's just something to think about. So at any spot in the on the fretboard, you can always play the appropriate pentatonic scale for that particular chord, but not necessarily using pentatonic position number 1. All right. So in my lead guitar improv course, if you haven't already checked that out yet, coming up within the next month or so, I'm going to be adding a pentatonic study course or pentatonic study page to that course, which is going to go really, really in depth with this stuff and this approach of soloing. That way you can practice this and really get good at it. Okay. So that's going to be it for this lesson. Hopefully you were able to learn something. Any questions, comments, hit me up. See you next time.